allegations that he exaggerated the truth in his autobiography. Rival candidate Donald Trump taking the opportunity to throw a few punches at Carson on the O'Reilly factor Friday night.
You know, if you think about what Carson's saying, he hit his mother over the head with a hammer.
No,
he hit a friend.
He almost did, but whatever.
He hit a friend in the face with a lock. He tried to kill somebody with a knife, and he said he suffers from pathological disease, okay?
Joining me now from his home in West Palm Beach, Florida, is Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, thanks very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
First, I want to get out of the way some of these attacks on you from the media. We know what you've said, so just give us a straight answer, Dr. Carson. In your autobiography, Gifted Hands, the Ben Carson story, you tell of the story of being offered a scholarship to West Point as a high school senior sometime after having dinner with the U.S. Army Chiefs of Staff, General William Westmoreland. Were you with General Westmoreland at that time?
I don't remember if I was with him when the offer came. The offer was not, as I recall from him, but there were multiple other officers around. There were several things that I was invited to because of my status as the city executive officer, and General Westmoreland was at one of them. And there were some Congressional Medal of Honor winners there as well. It was really quite an honor, but honestly, it's 45 to 50 years ago, so I can't remember every single detail about it. But I've encountered many people subsequently who've had that same offer, by the way, and are willing to come out and talk about it.
I only ask because his personal schedule shows that the general was not in Detroit on Memorial Day or during the days preceding and following the holiday. But look, you wrote it in the book. Now everyone, as you said, is going back in that book and scrutinizing what you wrote when you wrote it. I think it's really interesting that you wrote before you fixed the anger issues that you did take a hammer almost to your mother, and you did almost stab someone, if not for the belt buckle. And you're over here saying, yes, this really happened, but the media is basically saying you were not a thug as a kid, and you're saying, yeah, I was a thug. I mean, it's pretty ironic.
I guess that's a pretty great compliment to me if they don't think I was ever capable of that.
Let me ask you, Dr. Carson, about the issues that the American voter cares about, and not that they don't care about this, because they want honesty and they want integrity for sure. And so that's why I think the media has focused on these things. But I want to ask you about your plans for the economy. Tell us how you plan to create jobs.
Well, first of all, we have to recognize that we don't have this glowing economy that many in the administration want you to believe we have. 5% unemployment rate. You can make that number anything you want by who you include and don't include. And obviously we should be talking about the labor force participation rate, which is at a 38-year low. Now, what we have to recognize is that this country possesses the most powerful economic engine the world has ever known. But it cannot function because we have so many regulations wrapping around it. And we have a tax policy that it does not encourage entrepreneurial risk-taking and capital investment. So one of the things that I would do, first of all, to jumpstart the economy, is recognize that overseas we have over $2.1 trillion in American cash that will not come back with the kind of corporate tax rates we have. I would declare a holiday on that tax, or encourage that, so that we could repatriate that money. And the only stipulation being that 10% of it be used in enterprise zones and to create jobs for people who are unemployed or on welfare. That would be one of the biggest stimulus that we've seen since FDR's New Deal. And it wouldn't cost the taxpayers one single penny. But it also gets business and industry in the mind frame of once again investing in the community, which is something that we used to do at a much higher level before the government came in and said, we'll take care of all that. And they may have meant well, but they've done a horrendous job in the process and created a lot more dependency in our economy.